Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Flynn and I am the owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today I am super excited. I am going to show you guys how to create a matte finish on your epoxy tumblers. I know to some of you this might sound a little crazy because usually the goal with epoxy tumblers is to get that glossy, smooth as glass finish. However, I'm sure there's been certain designs and applications where you guys might have wanted to get a matte finish. I know I have. I've always wanted to be able to do this, and up until now, trying to matte your epoxy required a lot of sanding and a lot of elbow grease. Well, my friends over at DIYepoxy.com sent me this product. It's called Final Sand. And this product is going to allow us to gently sand the surface of our epoxy tumblers and create a even, smooth, matte finish safely and effectively. And it's gentle enough to use around stenciling. So if you didn't want to matte your entire tumbler and do just sections of a matte finish, you can do that with this product, which for me, it has always been a tumbler dream of mine to be able to do this. I've just never been able to figure out how. So I am so excited to introduce this product to you guys. You can find this down below in the description box. There's a link down there as well as a 10% off discount code just for you guys. So that's enough chit chat for me. Let's jump into the tutorial. If you guys like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so you don't miss a new video. I do upload every Wednesday and Saturday. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna start by prepping our cup. I always like to sand my cups, and once I'm done sanding it, I wipe it down with acetone. If you wanted to prep your cups an easy way, you can also use this Final Sand product to prep your cups at the kitchen sink. You would just wipe down your cup with the Final Sand paste, rinse it off really well, and then dry it before you move on to the spray paint. Okay, you guys, so really quick, I have to tell you, I wasn't going to include this particular cup in the tutorial because I was originally just going to do a black cup for this tutorial, but this one turned out so good that I wanted to show you guys how I did this also. Now, this is just a straight skinny 20-ounce cup from Craft Haven. I sanded it to prep it, and then I created a spray paint ombre with these two colors. These are my two favorite spray paints. This is Rustic Pink from Rustoleum, and this is Ultra Matte Deep Teal, also from Rustoleum. These are both ultra matte colors, and you guys have seen me spray paint. I did the short sprays of color until I created this beautiful ombre effect. I did have to spray a couple coats to get this kind of fade in really well, but when you guys are ombreing spray paint, you just want to do short, quick bursts of color until you get the effect that you want. And you may have to go over one color more than once in case you go a little too far down with the other color. Okay, so then after that dried, which should only take about 15 to 20 minutes, I epoxied over it, and I did mix this stuff in with my epoxy. This is Pearlescent powder. I will have a link to this down below in the description box. So I just mixed up 15 milliliters of epoxy. Excuse me, I mixed up 20 milliliters of epoxy, and then I mixed this in, coated my cup, put it on the turner, let that roll for 4 to 6 hours, and then I put another coat of epoxy over that. So that's where we're at with this one. Next, I'm going to show you guys how I put the decal on for the stenciling and how we did the matte finish over that. So stay tuned. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to measure and cut the pattern that we're going to use for the stenciling on this cup. So what you're going to want to do is measure your cup vertically. On this cup, I've got 8 inches vertically, and it's about 9.5 inches around. So this is a totally straight tumbler. If you had a taper on your skinny tumbler, you would want to measure both the top and the bottom, just so you can get a rough estimate. But generally you're just going to measure out like a square amount. So in other words, we need a pattern that is 9.5 inches wide by 8 inches tall. So we're going to go to our Cricut design space. I've got my favorite leopard print already out here, and I'm just going to resize it to match the width and height of my cup. My cat off my keyboard. All right, so here we've got it. It's 9.5 wide by 8 inches tall. This is exactly what we need. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut it, and then we'll get it applied to our tumbler, and I'll show you what's next. All right, so I've got my leopard print decal here, and I've trimmed the edges totally straight by using the grid on the back of my vinyl, and then lined up my transfer tape. And I'm gonna use that straight line that I trimmed on my pattern there, and I'm gonna line that up with the rim of this cup when I'm applying it. And I'm gonna leave the backing on my vinyl for as long as I can while I'm pressing the decal firmly onto the cup. The nice thing about these cups is that there's absolutely no taper, so using a totally squared off pattern will go on really smoothly without any kind of drama, which I love. So this is super easy. If you guys are using the Final Sand matte product with stenciling, you want to try and find kind of like a forgiving pattern or something that's not too incredibly detailed, because it is really hard to distinguish the detail. So you're not going to get super fine lines. So I wouldn't pick a pattern or a decal that would be too detailed or too much fine lines, if that makes sense. So I think leopard print works out perfect for this, or if you were going to stencil off like a large section, like on a 1/2 and 1/2, or you know, part of a 1/3 split cup or whatever it was that you were doing. Anyway, once I get this whole pattern on there, I'm gonna trim off that part of the transfer tape that I used to stabilize my pattern, and then put the last couple of inches of my decal on there. And then where it overlaps a little bit, I'm just gonna kind of move and reposition my spots a little bit until they all come together nicely. There shouldn't be too much of an overlap here. And I'm just gonna use my knife to trim some of them, and like I said, just kind of reposition some if needed to make sure everything makes sense. Okay, and so you just want to go around the cup and make sure that all your decals are adhered really well. I used Oracal 651 vinyl. You really want to use a good solid permanent vinyl when you're doing this to make sure that you don't have any lifting during the sanding process. So next we're going to take this over to the sink. I've got some steel wool here. This is 00 graded steel wool. I think that means like the kind of like thickness or something, whatever. And then I have my final stand. I will have a link to the steel wool down in the description box. I just got some on Amazon. And we are just gonna get the cup a little bit wet. You don't have to get it wet if you don't want to. And then I'm gonna take some of this final sand product, and I'm gonna use about a 1/4 size amount. Okay, I lied, maybe like a nickel sized amount. And then I'm gonna grab this steel wool, and I'm just going to work in a really mechanical fashion. So you're gonna want to go in a pattern of rubbing with the steel wool all the way around the cup systematically to make sure that you don't miss any spots and that you've applied even pressure to all surfaces of the cup. So I kind of like to take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, if that makes sense, just to make sure that I really got everything good. And once you go around the whole cup once, you're gonna go around it again. I would even go around maybe like 4 or 5 times just to make sure. Now, if you feel like you're running out of the product a little bit, grab a little bit more. You don't really need too much of it, so don't worry about that. You want to also kind of let the steel wool do its thing. But do beware that you can sand through the epoxy and through the paint. This is a abrasive process. So you really need to be careful if you don't have thick layers of epoxy. This is why I did 2 whole layers of epoxy over my spray paint before I went into this process. Now, you could also do this over epoxied glitter. However, in my testing with it, it wasn't as impactful as it was over just a painted section. So if you're gonna be applying this to a design, I would do it over like a painted section of your design, or maybe if you were doing this over like a patterned vinyl or something. It's just not as impactful over glitter. So alternatively, you guys could also do this with like a glitter peekaboo design. If you guys saw my leopard offset tutorial, you could do this where you would just like pull the decals twice, if that makes sense. So you would do your glitter, your epoxy, your decals, your spray paint, epoxy over that, then reapply the decals in the same place, and then do your matte process over that. The matte has to be the final coat, obviously, but you could easily, I wouldn't be easy, it would be hard, but it would be a really cool look to have a matte peekaboo where, you know, your peekaboo sections would be shiny epoxied glitter, and then you have the matte sections in between. So that's going to be my next project. I didn't have time this week to do that. I just kind of picked something easy to start with. But I think you guys are really going to love how easy and foolproof this process is. I will tell you that this took a total of 10 minutes. I did speed up some sections for the purpose of this video, but all in all, I was timing myself, and on a project like this, the total sanding process at my sink took 10 minutes. So when you guys get to a place where you feel like you've, rubbed it down pretty well, you're gonna wanna rinse all the product off, dry it completely, let all the liquid evaporate from your cup, and just look everything over and make absolutely certain that you've got everything evenly rubbed down and that you've got an even matte texture. If you see any kind of like weirdnesses, just go over it again. It's kind of hard to overdo it. Like I said though, you can sand through your epoxy and through your paint, so be careful, especially at the top rim of your cup. I learned that the hard way. So just be cautious, because again, this is an abrasive process. All right, so after a few passes, I double checked my texture to make sure it was to the level where I wanted it. And then I removed all my decals and I was completely done. So again, all in all, this cup only took me a couple days. It was super simple to do. The decal part was the most time consuming. But I just absolutely love how this turned out. It is subtle, it's elegant, it's beautiful. I cannot wait to try this product with some different applications and different designs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, you will find links to these products down in the description box if you want to try them out for yourself. Thank you so much for watching my video, and we'll see you soon. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.